She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She didn't leave a long, explanatory letter taped to the refrigerator door. She just went quiet. And that silence? It was, and always will be, louder and more definitive than any argument he'll ever have. It's the sound of a universe folding in on itself. If you're the one who finally set the phone down, stopped answering those hollow late-night "you up" texts, stopped pouring the very last drop of your soul into someone else's chipped and careless cup, this one's for you. And if you're the one still staring at the empty chair where her laughter used to echo, trying to remember the exact sound, this one's also for you. Because when the divine feminine energy, that animating force of intuition, connection, and creation, finally taps out, the entire planet tilts on its axis. At first, you barely feel it. It's just a hiccup in gravity, a brief moment of unsettling lightness. But then, suddenly, the ground is completely gone and you're free-falling in broad daylight, with no parachute and no one to hear you scream. Today, we're walking straight into that terrifying drop. No syrup, no fairy dust, just the raw, unforgiving physics of what happens when the current of empathy, play, and the intuitive glue that holds everything together just stops. The immediate aftermath. From the outside, almost nothing looks different. It's the same office, the same messy kitchen, the same shared playlist on the speaker. But her smile shrinks 3 millimeters, and the light behind her eyes seems to dim. Her once engaged "how is your day" dissolves into a flat, distant That is the first sign, the river reversing its flow. Psychologists might label it emotional cutoff. Mystics might call it energetic retraction. But whatever the label, the result is the same bone-deep chill. The warm, vibrant, slightly chaotic hum she brought to every room. It's just gone. The space feels like it's been vacuum sealed, sterile and unnervingly still. And who are the first to notice? The people, the partners, the workplaces that simply assumed that warmth would always be there. A renewable resource for the taking. That supportive 7:30 a.m. text before a big meeting? Missing. The intuitive way she knew you needed space before you even did? Vanished. Your nervous system starts chirping like a smoke alarm at 3 a.m. Low battery, no sleep, a persistent, unignorable warning. Your body knows the feminine Wi-Fi went down long before your logical brain does. Your chest feels tight for no reason. Your sleep becomes shallow. Weeks later, the mind is still desperately muttering its rationalizations. She's just busy. She's just stressed. While the body's internal red alert siren keeps howling into the void, knowing with primal certainty that the life support system has been unplugged. Section 2. The psychological earthquake. Once the initial unsettling silence settles in, the real tremors begin. For whoever had been leaning on that endless well of feminine energy, the first sign is a violent emotional whiplash. It's sudden, explosive anger that erupts out of nowhere in the middle of a grocery store aisle. It's unexpected tears at the gas pump, watching the numbers climb. It's 2 a.m., staring contests with the ceiling, a profound and terrifying loneliness pressing down. The emotional container that used to hold all the messy, contradictory, and difficult feelings, the one she provided without ever being asked, has just cracked wide open. And without it, everything leaks out, uncontrolled and chaotic. The second sign is a tidal wave of self-doubt, his, not hers. The internal monologue becomes a torture chamber of second-guessing. Did I miss something? Was it that thing I said last Tuesday? Was I too much? Was I not enough? Apologies are drafted in his head before the coffee's even brewed. Desperate bargains with a universe that has already moved on. Third, and most powerfully, comes imposter syndrome on espresso. Without her validating reflection, his greatest achievements look like flimsy cardboard trophies. The promotion feels hollow. The praise from his boss sounds like a foreign language. The intuitive compass that once whispered, "This way," a voice he often mistook for his own, but was actually hers, now just spins like a broken GPS. Every decision becomes a torturous loop of uncertainty. Am I sure about this? Am I making the right call? The short answer is a resounding, terrifying nope. He has forgotten how to trust himself because he had outsourced his trust to her, the spiritual void. And then the lights go out entirely. This is the spiritual bottoming out. The inner voice that used to nudge, "Light the incense," or "Call your sister, she needs you," goes completely radio silent. The vibrant narrative dreams that used to offer guidance and clarity flatline into a gray, featureless static. Creativity, which once flowed so easily, has ghosted. What's left is an unnerving hum of nothingness. People walk past their altars, their sacred spaces, and just shrug. Journals, once filled with insights and feelings, stay blank for months. The divine feminine is the live wire that connects the seen world to the unseen, the mundane to the magical. When she yanks that cord back, the entire unseen world feels like a dial tone. The default masculine reflex in the face of this void? Double down. More hustle, more metrics, more control, more caffeine. He tries to fill the emptiness with 12-hour workdays, extreme fitness regimens, and a relentless pursuit of external goals. But inspiration, intuition, and connection are feminine frequencies. You cannot strong-arm them into existence. The void won't be filled by doing more, only by daring to sit absolutely still in the dark until the eyes readjust. And let's be clear, that is terrifying. The spiritual dark night of the soul doesn't arrive in a mystical robe. It wears yesterday's sweatpants and looks just like an ordinary, unbearable Tuesday afternoon. It's the confrontation with the self, stripped of all its external validation and internal meaning. Societal ripple effects. Now, pull the camera all the way back. Imagine this happening on a mass scale. Thousands of women and femmes in our communities are quietly, without announcement, reclaiming their energy. They're retracting it from offices, from nonprofits, from family dynamics, and from group chats. The invisible glue person, the one who always remembered birthdays, who diffused office tension with a perfectly timed meme, who baked cookies when the budget got slashed and morale was low, quietly takes a permanent sabbatical. Suddenly, entire teams wonder why the vibe is off, why things feel so transactional and cold. Nonprofits panic when the star volunteer, the one who never asked for credit and did the work of 3 people, suddenly doesn't show up and won't answer their calls. Culture has a convenient dismissive word for this: burnout. But that word is a band-aid on a bullet hole. Burnout suggests the individual broke. This isn't breaking, it's reclamation. It's a conscious, sovereign act of withdrawing life-giving energy from systems built on unacknowledged, unreciprocated emotional labor. Those systems, which ran for decades on her free contribution, start coughing and sputtering like cars that are long overdue for an oil change. Collapse, when you're on the inside of it, always looks like a tragedy. But from the outside, it's simply evolution. Either the machine recognizes its error and rewrites its code to be more sustainable and reciprocal, or it seizes completely. Either way, the feminine stops being the premium, high-octane fuel for an engine that forgot to honor her name. Relationship dynamics in the void. Up close, in the intimate space of a partnership, the pattern is almost boringly predictable. She withdraws her energy, and the masculine energy, whether it resides in a man, a woman, or a non-binary person, it's an energy, not a gender, predictably cycles through 5 distinct stations of panic. Confusion, a state of utter bewilderment. Did I miss a memo? Did a text not go through? He replays the last week in his head, searching for a single event that could explain the sudden shift, but finds nothing. It feels like a glitch in the matrix. 2. Pursuit. This is the phase of frantic action. A barrage of texts, painstakingly curated playlists, 3 a.m. voice notes dripping with manufactured nostalgia. It's an attempt to force the old connection back online. A desperate flurry of gestures designed to get a response. Any response. 3. Bargaining. When pursuit fails, the promises begin. Therapy is booked in a panic. He suddenly promises to finally fold the laundry, to communicate better, to go on that trip she always wanted. It's a transactional attempt to fix the problem without understanding the root cause. Crisis. The bargaining yields only more silence. Nothing brings her back. This is when the true terror sets in. The absence is no longer a temporary problem to be solved, but a permanent, gaping reality. 5. The mirror. Finally, when all other options are exhausted, he is forced to turn inward. There is no more reflection of himself in her eyes. There is just the raw, unfiltered confrontation with the self. From this moment, there are 2 doors. Door 1 is collapse. He falls into a cycle of blame, shame, and resentment, and quickly swipes right for a fresh source of validation, destined to repeat the same pattern. Door 2 is transformation. This is the harder path. It requires sitting in the ashes, feeling the full, crushing ache of having treated a sacred love like a given, and starting the slow, painful crawl toward wholeness. No one can do that work for you. It is a solo rite of passage, disguised as ordinary heartbreak. The feminine's rebirth. But where did she go? She didn't vanish. She cocooned. She went inward, and in that sacred internal space, the first gift she gives herself is the experience of pure, uncut rage. It's the kind of holy fire that scorches every "you're being too emotional" or "you're not enough" label that was ever glued to her spirit. It's a cleansing burn. After the fire comes the flood, a deep, profound grief. Grief for every swallowed opinion, every gut feeling ignored to keep the peace, every time she shrank herself to make someone else feel big. And then, after the fire and the flood, comes the alchemy. The very same channel that used to pour its energy outward now floods inward, healing her from the inside. Creativity returns, but this time, it's just for her. She paints, sings, dances, writes, not for an audience, but for the sheer joy of it. Sensuality reawakens, but entirely on her own terms, for her own pleasure. She stops asking the world, "Will this make me lovable?" and starts asking herself, "Does this make me feel alive?" Friends notice her voice has dropped an octave. It's steady as a drum, her no, a complete and unapologetic sentence. Strangers sense a quiet, powerful force field around her, a boundary that is both firm and graceful. This isn't the pendulum swinging to the opposite extreme of coldness or bitterness. It is integration. She can still love. She can still nurture. But now she does it from her overflow, not from a place of depletion. An overflow is magnetic. It effortlessly pulls in masculine energy that is whole and ready to meet her, and it naturally repels the kind that is still stuck in take mode. The rebirth isn't a return to a fragile balance. It's an upgrade to a sacred union, one that starts and is forever centered in her own rib cage, restoring balance from the inside out. For the masculine-leaning folks out there wondering, what now? The answer is simple, but not easy. Do not chase her. Don't stalk her Instagram stories for clues. Instead, turn inward and begin to court your own inner feminine. This is the work. Learn to feel an emotion without immediately rushing to fix it or label it as a problem. Practice listening to another person without formulating a bullet-pointed reply in your head while they're still talking. Learn how to truly rest without a secret productivity loophole attached. Start small. Sit by a body of water and just watch it move for 20 uninterrupted minutes. Notice the powerful itch in your brain to call this wasted time, and then gently laugh at it. Masculine coding says that value equals output, that worth is measured in achievement. Feminine wisdom whispers that value equals presence, that worth is inherent. Every single time you choose presence over productivity, you are helping to rewire that ancient circuit. As you do this, your own inner feminine starts to feel safe again. Your inner masculine learns that its true job is not to bulldoze or control her, but to fiercely guard her boundaries so she can flourish. When both of these energies can live in harmony within one chest, relationships stop being battlegrounds or rescue missions. They start feeling like cathedrals, sacred spaces where two whole people can finally meet, no rescue required. If this conversation landed for you, hit the like button so the algorithm knows that these grown-up conversations matter and more people can find them. And drop one word in the comments below that nails how this withdrawal feels to you. Whether you're the one who vanished or the one who was left with the silence. Words like hollow, free, terrified, reborn. Your story is crucial data for our collective healing. And if you want some backup for your own journey, there's a free guide in the description below with journal prompts, boundary scripts, and a 12-minute grounding track to help you come back to your body. Take what you need. Leave the rest. She didn't leave to punish you. She left to live. And in that courageous act of living, every box that was ever too small to hold her magnificent, messy, powerful self cracks wide open. That deafening silence you keep hearing in the wake of her departure, it's not the end. It's a tuning fork held up to your own heart, asking a single, life-altering question. What will you do when comfort leaves the room? Your answer to that question decides whether this chapter ends in tragedy or in transmutation. Either way, she's already dancing on the other side of that silence. Barefoot unfiltered, and absolutely finally done apologizing for the sacred space she takes up in the world. Your move.